I think we can gradually start. I'll begin with introducing ourselves. My name is Georgie. I'm a system analyst in social links. I work on CrimeWall project. And here is Ivan. He's our brilliant OSINT analyst. And today he's going to be the one who'll give you the greatest value. But before I'll pass the mic to him, I'd also like to give a bit more information about our company. So who we are? Social Links is a global open source intelligence solution provider since 2015. We are providing our solutions for the um, investigators and security professionals from more than 500 companies, including law enforcement agencies from more than 80 different regions. And what we do is that we leverage the immense amount of open source, widely available data from all kinds of social media, darknet, corporate databases, the messengers, and we apply our AI-powered algorithms to make sense out of it and to enable automation of the data gathering and data investigation. And yeah, that was one of the reasons why last year Frost & Sullivan acknowledged us as a leader on OSINT market, which we're quite proud of. We have four main products. Historically, we are famous for SL Pro package, which you might have as well already heard about. Basically, it's all our algorithms combined in one package, which you can access directly from Multigo and i2 Analyst platform. But right now we have a whole lineup of the products, including the CrimeWall that I'm being biased much more fond of. Yeah, CrimeWall is all in one package where by using one solution, you can both access, gather, and collect data using our algorithms and analyze it and make sense out of it and create value out of it in these investigations. The SL private platform is enterprise grade platform, which is located on your servers, where you get the full copy of all our solutions of all our software, and you have a full list of our methods to gather the data, to analyze the data, and at the same time you receive the customization options, and all the data that you use, all the software that you use is located on your server, increasing obviously your confidence in what you're doing. Finally, there is Social Links API. It's for those of you who already have your own analytical platform and you want to leverage our data gathering algorithms within your system. And that's where SL API will come handy. You can connect it to your own system and then use our data gathering solution within your own platform. So a couple of words about what's going to happen next. I'll finish up my speech by speaking about the current problems with the investigations that happen within this information security business and specifically with law enforcement agencies. I'll say the solutions that we propose, and then I'll pass the mic to Ivan, who's gonna present two cases to you. First one is about the organized crime and how he can unveil the organized crime structures. And the second one is about how you can find links between criminals and how you can gather generally data regarding criminals. And last but not least, this Q&A session. Please feel free to ask your questions in the chat. We'll answer them either on the go or in the very end of the this webinar, depending on how it'll go. So OSINT is present on the market not for the first day, and the criminals are also trying their best to to hide their traces. They intentionally make the data obscure and more hard to identify. They create fake profiles that are getting increasingly hard to de-anonymize and to link to the actual person. They make their tracking more complex by by having various patterns that are hard to distinguish algorithmically. They have the very mixed up structure, hence making it more complicated to identify leaders within the gangs, within the organized criminal structures. And finally, they try to hide their location and making it more complex to identify where they are. Well, it's a long, well-known battle of the sword and the shield. Well, our sword slays their shield, I'd say. What we propose is the high-level OSINT solution where you leverage the data that is encompassing from different sources and that is analyzed in various ways in order to make new meanings. So enable to find all the relations of the suspects between each other and within their structures, to find the locations that were previously left with traces, with digital footprints, with the locations that were previously left, and to combine these and many other data footprints that were left to actually make new senses out of the object of the suspect's surroundings, how he lives and what he does. And well, that's how we create our value. So on this introduction being over, I'll pass the mic to Ivan. Once again, Ivan is our analyst in open source intelligence, and he's the one who knows how to use the data. So let's hear from Ivan.
Yes, Georgie, thank you very much for the introduction. So hello, everybody, and as always, it's very nice to see you all here. Today, we're going to be going through some sample cases with the usage of two of our products, the first being SocialLinks Pro and the second one being SocialLinks CrimeWall, the newly released analytical platform. And initially, we will start from very simple examples, specifically for those people in the audience who haven't been to our webinars before or haven't been to a lot of them, to introduce the logic of the workflow and then try to dissect the different problems that may be presented before modern law enforcement organizations through cases of different contexts. So we have several intro examples. For instance, what a user could potentially do if what they have as an input is a simple digital identifier such as an email, phone, or username. I see that there may be some questions in the chat already. We will be answering them during the Q&A session. So right now, we have this email address, a standard Gmail, which we are enriching to get the various points of digital presence, various artifacts that are connected to this, and to further extract the metadata out of those points and see how that fits into the bigger picture, into the context, and how that can be further used within the research. So, for instance, what we identify are profiles within Gravatar and MySpace, the fact of accounts existing within a number of platforms which are listed in this collection here, which gives us a characteristic of the user and which gives us a possible lead to search based on the username into those platforms. Additionally, a Google ID, which we can see that also has a screen name in a native language, several accounts within Skype, several IP addresses, which are further resolved to net blocks with the country code, which we can see, and an account within GitHub with an ID and with a username, which we can now utilize to get the profile and work with that work with that platform as we would with a social media platform, with the exception of GitHub having several additional categories of data. Now, here we go to our second example, as those are just intros, where our input is a phone number. So here we have listed a set of methods that are available for that particular type of element, and we launch a script of second layer automation within Maltego. Those are called machines, and within CrimeWall, which we will be presenting a bit later today, those are called scripts. So those essentially combine a number of specific methods in a certain sequence to automate the potentially repetitive scenarios of gathering data for the users, so that the analyst, can focus more on the actual investigation, on the logical part, on the analytical part, rather than clicking buttons and trying to understand which buttons is it more correct to click. So now from this, we get a record within Truecaller and a Facebook ID, from which we further go to the account. And from the account, we can harvest various additional artifacts, as this is Facebook, which is quite a rich source of data. There are many things which we can extract, such as the user groups, pages liked, their content that they have been tagged in, items that they have been trying to sell within the Facebook marketplace, as well as using facial recognition to try and identify accounts of this user on other platforms. And that will be the focus of our third and last intro example.
I just wanted to highlight that both in the first and the second example, we immediately got the locations, starting simply from the email or phone number, and that's kind of answering the second question that we've stated about being able to identify the locations of the suspects.
Yeah, those are broad locations, so that can definitely be useful when we look at the big picture and when we see what entities are connected to specific locations and how they are connected on the second degree between one another. So yes. Now we're going into the third one, and here we have different instances of utilizing computer vision based features. Now, this is, of course, product-based, but I think that this is necessary to explain for the audience to understand the nature of the next examples. So what we have on board here is facial recognition, which can be used starting from a face and a name. For example, we have an Interpol red notice, we have a screen name, we have a date of birth, and we have a facial photograph. So now from this, we can run a search into the sources that we have listed here. That is the most basic scenario. So here we have two Interpol red notices. Some other similar ones, we have a Google ID from a Gmail of this gentleman. And in addition to the reviews that we can extract from that, we can try to cross-search, let's say, into LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter. Or this other gentleman, where we have a record within OCCRP and within Sanctions Explorer, featuring also this Bitcoin address, which is further mentioned in a Telegram channel offered by the user. And from that, we're going to try to search into VK and Instagram. And whenever we get a result, we always get a probability rate of this being correct. So of course, that is up for the analyst to further verify and decide how to use this in the further process. Now, specifically for Facebook, there are also more customized ways of searching, which may take a bit more time to load, which is why they're pre-made here within this graph. For example, searching by face and profile. So let's say we have John Doe and we have Jane Doe, and John has 100 photographs in his Facebook profile, and we want to see whether Jane is present in any of those photographs, and if so, in which ones. For that, we need a facial photograph of Jane and the Facebook ID of John. And this is what we see here, and we find the initial photograph in the album of this user. And another one is searching based on a face and group. So the same principle is applied to, let's say, searching for a photograph of John Doe within a Facebook group. Now, there is not only facial recognition or object recognition, but also object detection. So here we have those entities. Some are Facebook photos and some are just URLs to images. We're going to use gun detection and automobile detection. And this is something that is useful whenever an analyst is facing a large volume of imagery, for instance, from a social media platform or something which they may have uploaded into the solution, to see whether there are red or orange flags within the whole set of images. And indeed, there are some images where we see firearms, and there are some other images where we see firearms and automobiles together.
What a nice company.
Yeah. Now, I see a question, bomb detector, knife detector, is there or not? That is not something that we have at the moment. What we have had in our plans for a long time is detection of flags and masks, but it's possible that we'll extrapolate that logic to other objects that may pose additional interest. Thank you for that question. Now, what is more interesting when we get a social media profile is not just extracting their friends list or extracting their groups and their content. It is looking at the specifics and the depth of the connections that they share with other people. And this is exactly something where an industrial grade large, powerful solution would be useful to do the heavy lifting, especially in the instance with social media. So, for instance, let's say we take the posts of a user and the posts that they have been tagged in with in Facebook. That logic is can be absolutely extrapolated onto any other social media platform with just different platform specifications. And then further, we see who has reacted to those, we see who has commented, and we see who has reposted. That ideally, especially if the user is active and if they're in general, at least to some degree, open about their life and about their social connections within social media, will give us a picture of the patterns of communication that they have and who are the more important people, the more frequently met people within this graph, within their particular social network, which will be useful for us to further draw analytic conclusions. For instance, we see one user that particularly stands out here in terms of the activity of communicating with the content of the initial hypothetic person of interest. And that becomes especially interesting and especially relevant when we research entire communities and themed communities and communities around a certain idea or a certain type of commercial activity. So for instance, in the geographical context of New Zealand, there is an organized crime group, or also called a biker gang. There are several ones which initially stem from a migration of the original people of New Zealand into urban agglomerations, and those people not being in the best conditions to perhaps be accepted into jobs and having some prejudice from local law enforcement. And a standard thing that happens in that scenario is the formation of street level organized crime groups and then the subsequent evolution of those into more sophisticated organized crime groups. One of those is the mongrel mob. And here we see a number of accounts, some of those belonging to people who produce music around that specific topic, some of those people who sell branded merchandise, and people who display an affinity within their social media footprint, specifically the Facebook footprint, the pages that they like and the groups that they are in and the content that they post to that specific group. And then we can look more closely at each specific account and each cluster of the account. If we're not talking about a large group, and if we're talking about ascertaining or disproving some hypotheses about one or several persons of interest, here we have one excerpt from a case that we have demonstrated a few times before related to the close relatives of Joaquin Guzman, who is the Mexican Sinaloa cartel. So here we have 3 users and their accounts within Twitter. From those, we further extract the content that they have retweeted and the tweets that they have replied to. Some of those include photographs. And then we further deepen, meaning we ask the software to give us all of the other users that have reacted to that content or have reposted it or have commented under it. And further, we can try to see whether they are within the followers or the followees of our person of interest to see whether they are important to the case, and if so, what can we get from that? Now, yes, I see there is a question. Is there a feature to anonymize the final results in the final report? I'm not sure just what exactly you're talking about. Is there a feature to depersonalize the accounts? At this moment, no. But we're working on different report templates for different types of use cases that will be present within CrimeWall, but not within this software, the next one that we will be showing.
Yeah, I wanted to add that on the side of the CrimeWall, we're currently working on the customization of the report so that you'd be able to specify which information you'd like to include there in the first place. So if there is some sensitive bits of data that you'd like not to disclose, then you can just not add it to the report. That's the feature that's going to be there soon.
Yes, Georgie, thank you for that clarification. So some of you may have wondered about an option that is obviously useful for working with large volumes of social media content, which is sentiment analysis. And that is, of course, something applicable. What we have integrated is the production of OpenAI, as well as some additional models to detect the object-specific sentiment, map out the topics, and detect aggressive speech within text, within social media, and in general. So, for example, here, the context here is South African. This is related to a Facebook group dedicated to the Pollsmoor prison, which is one of the largest penitentiary establishments in the South African Republic. And here we further extract what we can see, the posts, the comments to those posts, and the replies, and extract the topics and look for positive or negative sentiment. And now here we can see, for example, where this is something that looks more casual and where it is something that looks potentially more interesting. For instance, the topics being discussed, prison system, criminal justice. Now from that, we can further select the parent entities. We can see that there are six posts in total, and we can go into more details on those. Or we can jump straight to negative. Object-specific sentiment, where prison is an object for negative sentiment. Now we can further go into those posts and extract the users and look into more detail into the users and their connections. And we seem to be somewhat more concentrated on YouTube than other social media platforms. So here is another example that is related to a topic of a territorial dispute between Malaysia and Philippines, and the representation of that in the YouTube comments under a series of videos. We can apply sentiment analysis here, but before that, we can extract the comments from all of the posts, and then see which of the commenters are the more active, and then from all of those extract the stated location from their bios to see users from which location are more active and more dedicated to discussing this. For instance, we see that at least with the data that we have input here, the users from Philippines tend to be somewhat more active than users from Malaysia, but there is also activity of users from Indonesia and from the United States. And again, this is also applicable, of course, to Instagram, LinkedIn, Discord, Steam, and other types of sources. Now, we will, of course, touch briefly on the subject of dark web. So a basic input for us, within the context of dark web, we focus on more LEA specific use cases and less so on corporate specific use cases. With the key, with a select pool of forums and marketplaces within the Onion ecosystem, but we might make some new interesting additions to that in the coming months and quarters, of course. So one of the most obvious type of input for us would be a username. So here we have 3 sample usernames, and we are running a search into the forums and marketplaces from those and extracting the products that those users are focused on, extracting the PGP open keys from which it's possible sometimes to go to email addresses, and extracting the locations stated within the product positions to see whether there will perhaps be some kind of a geographical pattern. And the sentiment analysis features and the topic extraction is, of course, applicable to the forum posts that we see here as well. Now, the word dark web is used for many types of things and used broadly. But if we talk about platforms, if we talk about environments where people who may be of interest to law enforcement organizations may congregate, it is, of course, also Telegram and Discord. And specifically for Telegram, we have an optional extension for our law enforcement clients, so which deals with Telegram and which can work with very different types of data. So here, let's try this Foyer Creek from the context of the Foyer Creek division, which is one of the interesting far-right organizations. And let's try getting a Telegram profile from this. And then once we see a Telegram ID, which is the basic entity for this, we can further go to the groups and to the groups this person has previously messaged in within the Telegram ecosystem. And in some instances, also extract phone numbers. And then once we see the groups, we can further get the current and historical administrators and owners of this. And also see if there is perhaps some kind of an interesting pattern, an intersection on one account, which is an administrator and or owner of several groups dedicated to a specific topic at once, and look at the specifics of that account and try to pivot from different points of its metadata, such as the username or the Telegram ID or the screen name or imagery, if there is any. And of course, we can add other aspects of our functionality on top of that. So here we search from Foyer Creek division. We identify one profile, which we can see here.
Right wing that.
Well, yes, this is a very common look for that type of profile, and Here we see several groups that the user participates in. We see their username. From the username, we find an account with an Instagram, but of course, that always implies additional verification and facts and identifiers from the previous category, the previous degree of search. And we see some messages, and from those messages, we can see that some of them are categorized as aggressive, and we can look at the specific words, specific speech modules, and further delve into the analysis of the big picture. Now, of course, in the context of the real research within that scope, an analyst would be combining many different methods and many different sources and many different approaches. So this is one of the also the examples that we have been showcasing prior to that about some small trading companies from China, specifically from the Wuhan region, related to chemical facilities, partially present within LinkedIn and open corporates, which are also good data sources, and with contact data of their employees, selling some things that can become precursors for fentanyl, which is very relevant for North American countries. Some of those entities have been sanctioned. And there was relatively recently an arrest of a broker in Guatemala, which has been between the Chinese manufacturers and the Mexican Sinaloa cartel, the Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok accounts of whom we can see here. And originally, this person was something one would call an eco-influencer. Also, there are product positions that we can see in some of the Tor marketplace. For instance, 1,000 grams of fentanyl for 40K USD shipping from China. So yes, and our solutions do offer a very wide range of sources and methods for different types of use cases. Now, thank you for your attention on this. We will answer some of the questions, and then we will go into brief demonstration of CrimeWall. Okay, I see one question. Yes, sir. Very nice of you to contact us. We will save your contact data, and we will come back to you a bit later within today after the webinar. Are there any case studies on the Social Links website for further use? Well, for obvious reasons, it is not very common for our clients to be very vocal and actively share their experience with the use of social link software, but some of our clients do sometimes. And there are public references to us in the case studies about specific investigations and research instances from Trend Micro, from Stanford Internet Observatory, from some of the LEA clients as well, such as the webinar that we did some time ago with Belgian police. So yes, there are some public use cases available.
Yeah, I wanted also to add, like, when working with some foreign language instances, like the last cases with the Chinese factories, one of the features that we provide is that you can natively translate the text within the system using our methods. So translating to English language is available from all languages, decreasing the complexity of the work. And regarding the question whether there will be a presentation sent, I think yes. I think we can definitely send the presentation separately. Please leave your contacts, and our managers will get in touch with you. Yes, I mean, use this slide, yeah. Regarding the social links for mobile devices like iPads, well, let's start with the fact that right now you've been looking at the Maltego, and it's the Maltego that is software that is being installed, so we can't save this for SL Pro. But here, right now, Ivan is showing CrimeWall, which is our own software, and so far it works in browsers. So it works on Mac, it works on Windows, it works on Linux. I'm not sure we've really tested this, but I think it can be launched on some other systems, like for example, uh, Google Chrome on Android could technically work. Like not, we definitely don't promise good enough performance, but theoretically it could work. Yeah, so I'll give back mic to Ivan. I just wanted to a couple of questions.
Yeah, right. So yes, this is the other solution, the other product that we have that has been released recently, which is CrimeWall. And we have a number of examples here, most of which are pre-made for the sake of time. So we have a bit more time in our hands to answer the questions, of which there are a lot, which I can see in the Q&A session. But yes, in the process of building this, what we are partially relying on is the experience of working with other analytical platforms, specifically with SocialLinks Pro, to take things that are good about them and implement them into this new system, but making it more user-friendly without damaging the possible level of complexity to which the user can go. So the basic concepts are also quite similar. So there are elements, there are methods, there are links, there are scripts, there is quite comfortable navigation, advanced search, sort of a grep through all of the data that we have, a listing of documents, and documents are parts of projects, and projects are parts of data spaces. And a data space is something that a user within a team can have. And yeah, and there are different types, different ways to arrange user access management. So for example, here we also start with something as simple as a phone. We see which tasks have been finished within the document or the project or all of our user account, which tasks are still in progress, and we see the specific properties of the elements that we are working with. Now we're waiting for some output. Perhaps while that is loading, I will go to the other documents that I have opened. And yes, while I am at it, my colleague has launched a poll, so please answer those questions. That is something that will be very helpful to us in our work.
I can answer. It will take a lot of time to write. I'll just answer in voice. Uh, well, once again, from start to an end, CrimeWall is indeed like an all-encompassing solution. It's pretty much combining what Maltego does with what SocialLink Pro does. It's the both the analytical and data gathering platform. So, well, I can't say what you will do and what will be your role. It really depends on what your task is. So you might want to use it to go deeper into the corporate fraud detection. You might want to de-anonymize criminals. So depending upon your tasks, upon your preferences, you can adjust how you use the system accordingly. Yeah. So uh, well, these are a bit different solutions. So you might want to actually stick with the Crimal if you just need the our data gathering algorithms and our analytics features. However, if you do need specific particular Maltego features and you want to stick with Maltego, then you are welcome to use SL Pro for Maltego.
Yeah. So yes, coming back to Crimal, to how it actually works. Here we have several examples of similar nature with different identifiers. So what we can do with emails. Here we have this from a person from the United States, and we get multiple accounts within Skype and Gravatar. We get some info from password recovery pages, other emails at Bain.com or at Coinbase.com, where this person has worked for a long time, and we get a LinkedIn account, and from that extract the data available further. Another instance of working with a username. Here we identify a profile within Steam. We get the groups, and also Steam is, well, it's not a specific package, but in addition to the conventional social media, we have some sources such as the less conventional sources, but those such as TripAdvisor, Duolingo, Steam, GitHub, and other ones. And here we see a list of groups of this user, which also gives us some additional characteristic about them, also additional profiles within Snapchat and within Telegram, and what we extract from Steam as a name, from which we further pivot into LinkedIn, which also gives us a Twitter handle with the same stated location within the bio as within LinkedIn, and the general description of this person, which explains the specifics of the groups we see within Steam. And we have almost transferred all of the data gathering capabilities from SL Pro, which has been the flagship product for a long time, into Crimal. Some of it are still in progress, but here we see another example related to the 12 Tribes organization, which is many people in the US see as a destructive cult. And they manage several chains of restaurants in the US and operating in also several other countries. And here we have names of organizations such as Yellow Deli Vista LLC, the Yellow Deli LLP, which is more British, Yellow Deli Boulder LLC, and records from the British Companies House and from Open Corporates. And here we're going into some of the other Crimal specific features. For instance, we can look at the whole data that we see within the document on a map to see if there is perhaps some kind of an interesting geographic pattern. In the case of the Yellow Deli, there are much more addresses and much more locations where those people are active and where those people have commercial objects. But part of those we can see here. And if we click on something within a map, if we come back to the graph part, that element will also be highlighted. Now, if we go to the next example, here we also work with corporate entities, but in this instance with offshore leaks, with the name of a former president of Colombia, with some records from the Paradise Papers related to the Barbados corporate registry. So the basic principle is the same, that we initially start from a person and we find the representation of that person on the source, and then we further look at the related organizations and related physical addresses. And that can be viewed also, of course, on a map, but additionally within a table where the entities can be sorted by type, and from where the user can export this data in a CSV format in case they want to work with it elsewhere. And in those two next examples, we have a number of dark web vendors with their products, which we can see, and the vendors themselves identified from the username. And what we can do in the instance with those types of entities, and with many different types of entities, of course, is look at this from the perspective of the content view, which is one of the other things that we have within this new solution. So for that, we need a textual description of as a property of one of the elements, or anything that is either a text or an image. And that's the content view is something where we will be able to view, for instance, the whole text and select a certain fragment of text, further launch named entity recognition, and get a subgraph of the most important elements and the categorized elements within that. For instance, let's open the description of this vendor. And now let's choose those first few paragraphs and select the methods named entity recognition. This will take a few seconds to load. For now, we can go to the other examples which we have at hand.
I wanted to highlight that the crime walls content view is like that's one of the reasons why we've created that. It allows you to take the specific fragment of text or image and apply the methods like searching for named entities or sentiment analysis or search for cars in the specific fragment, which would be particularly useful in this case. Like Ivan showed, when there is very long text, or for example, when you have a photograph with many faces, but you want to search for specific person's profiles in the social media, then it's also where it really comes handy.
Yes, and also while that is in progress, we can show the second layer automation and how that works specifically within CrimeWall. There seem to be some network difficulties on my side. So while that is loading, I will be answering some of the questions. Yes, I see that there is a request to find something related to a phone number. Sir, if you're interested in that, we would be pleased to talk to you in a more personable way. So you can shoot an email at hello@sociallinks.io and tell us your use case, and we can see how we can be mutually beneficial. And do we provide internships for undergraduate students? Well, I suppose that would depend on your background, but it is not an opportunity to which we're closed, so possible, yes.
So, what was this it? Or can I grab a mic, or you have something else to show, Evan?
It seems like we have shown enough of of the new developments and of the different methodologies and of things that are relevant specifically to law enforcement context. So yes, Georgi, please go ahead with your additions.
Yeah. Just a second. So, as I said, I'm a bit more biased here, as in this company I'm working on the crime wall. So as much as I appreciate Maltego's functionality, I still believe that crime wall is just better. So what I'm saying is that thank you for coming, and for all attendees of this event, we can provide a free trial period before actually purchasing crime wall, which is also a very much asked condition. And another thing that I can add from my side is that right now, as CrimeWall is in its active development stage, and we constantly adding new features, new functionalities, new value adding algorithms. We are in the stage where your feedback can actually change the path, and like we can add some of the features upon your need, because like, well, we constantly pick the priorities, which is also very much appreciated by the users that are currently using CrimeWall. And yeah, also there were quite a few questions in the Q&A and in chat regarding how to learn how to use CrimeWall. I can assure you, like, I think you can go to the next slide, that well, we have our brilliant COE team that is always super happy to help you out with your investigations. We are working hard to ensure that our customers are happy, and they not only they purchase our software and our tools, but they use it and they create real value and make a lot of sense with the data they use. So yeah, we are always happy to assist you in your beginnings. Well, I think it's all from my side. And yeah, once again, with CrimeWall, I believe it's already awesome, but if there is something that you like, oh, I need this particular feature with my investigations, there is a very good chance that we can be flexible enough to improve its priority and make it quicker. So yeah, it's your unique opportunity. And I think that our colleagues will reach out with more feedback about this webinar. And there is definitely more material on our side on our YouTube channel. Ivan, is there anything to add?
No, just a big thanks to everybody for joining, and I hope this was informative and helpful. And we hope to see you at our future events, and we hope to one day meet you in person and discuss how we can help you in your work specifically.
Yes, thank you everyone so much for coming, and I hope this was valuable for everyone.